Good morning, our merry Marvelites. Yes, indeed. We are back for more Marvel movie talk and some news as well. Very excited to be here. We were on at a different time last week so that we could really react to the Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. series finale. I'm Christian Bladt. Joining me now and also on that show last week, Rachel Radner, Rachel Goodman, Rachel Author. Rachel, are you still processing the Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. series finale, or have you come to terms that it's happened?
I've both. So I have come to terms with the fact that it's over. I'm in a lot of Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. Facebook groups, and I just follow the Twitter, just everyone talking about this. And there's actually a petition going around. I mean, of course, there's a petition for them to bring back Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., but also there's a lot of speculation about Agents of S.W.O.R.D. and just everything that they may be doing with that. So I personally, I still feel a little bit sad that it's over, but I have kind of also processed that, yeah, they ended in the best place they were going to end, and it could have been worse. So maybe we should just let it go.
It could have been worse.
Yeah, it could have been. It could have been The Gifted. But the interesting thing is you're talking about these Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. Facebook groups, and by the way, we're on Facebook as well as on YouTube. In case that's somehow more convenient for people, we're on Facebook Live right now. I'm imagining your Facebook feed being just a collection of Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. groups. There's like one friend from high school, more Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. groups, and then like a couple of us from AfterBuzz, and then more Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. groups.
It's literally a couple of you from AfterBuzz, and then everything in my feed is either Star Wars or Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. It's like,
wow, I'm so honored.
The one person, of course, we should all know is our third co-host for the week, the one, the only, Flobo Boyce, the man of new content every day.
It's true. I do a lot of stuff. Apparently, not as a lot as you, Christian. I'm always seeing you going live on the channel. Blattcast there, Trump Report there, Marvel Movie Talk here. You're a machine.
Wow. Just trying to keep the network afloat. And we're 3/4 of the Curb Your Enthusiasm panel. James Maple, not a Marvel fan, I've asked.
Oh, no.
But because there are 3/4 of us, I figure it is August 20th. This is a great time to say to both of you, Happy New Year!
Happy New Year!
I'm still in the ugly section from last season. I don't know.
Happy New Year. Yeah.
Anyway, there's a lot of Marvel news, and there's a lot of movie news, and there's also some Marvel movie news. But I do want to start off with the movie news because it is just throughout the country, literally today, right now. I think there's about 100 that are opening today, AMC movie theaters, and if you live somewhere that one's opening, you can see movies for 15 cents today. They're doing, 2020 movies at 1920 ticket prices, 1920 prices. So you can see a movie for 15 cents. Now, most of the movies they're showing, in fact, all the movies they're showing, I think, are what we like to call library movies. Like, you want to see Back to the Future, you want to see Gremlins, Goonies, stuff like that. So there's a lot of that sort of stuff. But people are able to go to the movies, and in a lot of places today, not where we live. We could go to the drive-in tonight if we line our 3 cars up and park next to each other and text jokes during the movie, which wouldn't be at all annoying. But so the question for each of you, and I'll ask Rachel first. This is a little bit of a hypothetical because movie theaters aren't here. How much of a rush are you to go into movie theaters? Are you excited about the notion? Would you go?
I would go. But my thing is, we are already, like, the way that LA is working, as you guys both know, but for anyone listening who does not live in LA, we had kind of sort of started to open up maybe like 2 months ago, and then everything was shut back down. But it's kind of like the way that it's been working is, obviously you can still go to a grocery store. For a while, you could still walk around a mall, but you just had to wear your mask. And the mask policy has been in place since April. So my thought is, well, they like I've been looking at the AMC website and I'm seeing how they're planning on handling it. And literally, even the ones that are opening are only going to be at 40% capacity. So my theory is, okay, well, it sounds like they are maintaining the social distancing, regulations. How much, like, we've already opened up other things where people are around each other with masks. I personally don't see how it could be any worse to open up a movie theater if we're already opening up other areas where people are going to be around each other in masks. That's number one. But also, just in terms of answering the question from an excitement point of view, I am very excited to go back and see a movie in theaters. We have an AMC that we've been waiting on opening that is down. It's literally, we live next to a shopping center that was just built like within the last 5 years. And there's an AMC in there, and we've been waiting to be able to walk over and go to an AMC movie. So as soon as it's open, I will be going with my mask, but I will be going.
Yeah. There's a lot to unpack in there. I think that there are indoor places you can go. I'd say the one place that I know movie theaters are opening where it makes 100% sense is Las Vegas. If you're opening up casinos with distancing and masking, well then, God, you might as well sit in a movie, And
I was just in Las Vegas when I was, last in July. Not to, sidebar here, kind of, but
sidebar.
Yeah, Utah. Okay, so when we went through Utah, they really did not care in most places about whether you were wearing a mask. We wore our mask because we wanted to be safe, but they really did not care. The hotel we stayed at, the pools were open. People were just walking around with no masks. It was maskless. Let me just say that. When I went to Las Vegas, you were supposed to be wearing your mask everywhere. In casinos, they were very, very strict about enforcing that. But elsewhere, not so much. And pools were open in Las Vegas too, with no masks required. So I would not be surprised if they opened up movie theater, if they didn't really enforce that mask policy inside movie theaters in Las Vegas.
Right. Yeah, no, I think that's fair. And look, they were very quick, AMC in particular. And the reason why we're talking about them so much is because they're the ones with the biggest rollout. They very proudly announced this about a week or two ago, what dates they were going to be reopening. And some of them are opening next week. And if you live somewhere like us, they're like, if you look at the app, which I have the AMC app, it's like, yeah, check back. Because they're like, we got no app. It's not soon, so check back another time. Okay. I think that one of the things that they reversed their policy on was originally they were going to let masks be optional. Then they said that you actually have to wear them. But then, of course, you don't need to wear them while you're enjoying your snacks, which I don't know the way you guys go to the movies, but I mean, I'm eating throughout the whole movie. So really,
you can make it throughout the whole movie with snacks? I'm usually done by the first 10 minutes.
We did an AfterBuzz outing, so I can't test. True.
Yeah, but back then they let you refill the popcorn bucket. Now you can't get the refills, which I think is less about cleanliness and sanitization than it is about the bottom line. But I digress. Flobo, just generally speaking, what are your thoughts on this? The fact that obviously it's not a decision we personally have to make, but it's more of a hypothetical for us.
It's interesting because when I first read that, my original inkling was to be like, oh, heck no, right? Because if I'm traveling or if I'm doing something with a purpose, I'm getting food, okay, I understand, I'll take the risk. But to sit there and watch Artemis Fowl in 3D, like, why would I do that to myself? But I'm hearing Rachel's, I guess, rationale. And as a comic, as a comedian, I kind of miss that. I kind of miss the fact people are willing and more able to do things they weren't going to before. So, and plus, when I go to the movies, honestly, it's like Tuesday morning at 1 p.m. or 11 a.m. So no one's really in the theater to begin with. So it's good to have the option. I probably won't go as often. I probably won't make it a thing to see things at midnight showings anymore. But if it's an option to do, especially now when it's hot and I don't have an AC in my apartment, why not?
Yeah, look, we have a week where in Los Angeles it's been like 106, or depending on where you live, even higher. And you get the email from your water and power, saying like here's the times a day you should conserve. And what I used to do is, great, I'm going to go. Well, let's be honest, I would go pay for one movie and see at least two at the multiplex, because I'm just staying in. I'm staying, I would see like the worst movies ever. Like we're talking like Piranha 3D, like, just really bad. I remember seeing that on a day where it's 115. So, it's it is an escape this time of year in particular. And I talked to a friend of mine about this. My friend Carson, who she does radio in Nashville. I talked to her on my podcast, the Blackcast, which you can find on this same network, BLADTCAST.
Synergy.
That's right. New content. But she made the point that, like, if your movie theater opens today's the day you should go. It is never going to be cleaner than it is today. Tomorrow, it's already going to be a little bit more dirty. And then there's also, today's the day where you see a 15 movie. So, but I can understand anybody who, who feels like, yeah, I'm not ready for it. In fact, our friend Kame Egan in the chat actually says, Kame Egan says, I like that AMC is opening with movies at 1920s prices, but I don't see many people going back until they feel a bit more safe. Unfortunately, I'm one of those people. I think that there are plenty of those people out there, and I think it is a very logical, cautious decision. I think that the people who could be rushing off to movie theaters are people who have had and recovered from COVID-19, because then you're like, yeah, what am I worried about? First responders, it's like, you know what, I'm in front of it every day. I'm talking about medical professionals, whatever. It's like, yeah, whatever. There is something that is very appealing about going back to the movies, and it was fun. I think that whenever I were to go sit in the movie theater, which wouldn't be soon, it wouldn't be right when they first reopen, I would, and Rachel, as you just attested to how much I love my movie snacks, I would actually do no snacks. I would wear my mask the whole time. I would get my I would go downstairs to Buffalo Wild Wings afterwards and get them to go and just shovel them in my face in the car. But I don't think I would eat while I was in there, and that's a big part of the experience for me is seeing that. But I'm excited for them to be open. I'm excited for people who are comfortable being able to go. I'm just, again, we don't have that option. We've got the drive-in, which we'll talk about very soon, about how we may very well be going. Kame Egan mentions that, yeah, the AMCs in Schaumburg, Illinois aren't opening until, so you have sort of your waves of openings. That one would be the wave where you're opening in time for Christopher Nolan's Tenet, which was off the schedule. And then all of a sudden it showed right back September 3rd. And September 3rd is when Bill and Ted 3 was supposed to come out. And then Bill and Ted time traveled the release date back a week. So now Bill and Ted is competing with a movie we talk a lot about on this show, and a movie that I think even earlier this week people were still convinced was not going to come out. And of course, we're talking about New Mutants. Yeah. And people have bought tickets for New Mutants. They are on sale. They could go. So Rachel, you already said you're happy for the idea to go to the movies. If they were open at that shopping center down the street, would you saunter in there to see what all the New Mutants fuss is all about?
Okay, so here's my thing. I have always been a fan of drive-in movie theaters. So my first thing is, even though AMC is opening and they may, they're going to be offering New Mutants most likely if it actually does release when it says it will. If this actually happens, I probably would go to MC, but I would also want the experience of the drive-in movie theater. And that's one of the things that I feel like right now, what I am loving, obviously, like, it's a shame that it happened due to these circumstances, but I'm loving the fact that drive-in movies are now more accessible and that they've popped up. There's more options. So I would almost be more inclined to go and see the release at a drive-in movie theater, which is what they've been doing for some movies, like such as The Rental. I went to the premiere for that, which was a drive-in movie at the Vineland Drive-In, and that I think was more fun than going to an actual movie theater. So that's my thing. If I probably would still go to AMC, but I would look first to see if they were doing some kind of premiere at a drive-in.
Yeah, growing up, actually the closest movie theater to me was a drive-in. It's a drive-in that's still open. I've given them a shout out on the show before, so why not now? The Warwick Drive-In in Warwick, New York. They're still there.
Wow.
And they're open now. So, I mean, not right now, but tonight they'll open. And I don't think they've ever actually been closed for a sustained period of time. But of course, when you grow up in that part of the country, like the three of us all did, obviously your drive-in movie theater, your season ends like, about October to April. You're just not open.
Yeah.
Whereas out here they are open. And it's the only alternative the only choice we have is to see a movie at the drive-in. So that is where I'm planning to be, I guess a week from Saturday to see New Mutants. But Flobo, this is not a movie that I think you've kept on. Tell our audience what you told me before we got started when you knew we were going to talk about this.
Yeah, so I was to go search to see if there was a brand new trailer or something, and I was like, is this the second one or the third one? Oh, wait, this movie's been in development for so long. That is the same movie. I had totally forgotten about it. The X-Men franchise, which we can, can we link it? We guess we can. Has always been inconsistent for me personally, but I was liking the cool twist on the other genre-ishness of this. But I could have sworn it came out already. I could have sworn we were on episode 2. So...
Yeah, there's people in the movie that could have sworn that it came out already, I think. But it's this very intriguing idea of a superhero horror movie, and it is a property that lends itself to this. And I tell you, if it's average, I'm probably going to love it. It has to be so terrible for me to be like, ugh, this, but we'll tell you the bad news. They are not doing any press screenings for it. There's no advance. So that's never a good sign.
True.
But it's also, they're not having screenings for anything. It's not like you can go to the Disney lot. Like when they had the screenings for Endgame, they were like every 4 hours on the hour, and you had to reserve a time and you had to give options. They just would show it all day over at the Disney lot. So, then they're just not doing that right now. So I think that there's no advance, but I'm not sure if that means what it necessarily does. The interesting thing is I wanted to share this because our friend Colt Bedeau, who manages our Twitter up there from the Starjammer, it's Marvel News PTN on Twitter, he shared a tweet with me from John Campea, who I think some of you know who he is. He's Los Angeles, and he did a screen grab of how he bought tickets to see New Mutants in Las Vegas next Thursday for the 7 p.m. showing. So he's going to drive to Las Vegas from Los Angeles next Thursday in time for the 7 p.m. showing. And I tell you right now, if I was single, if I was single and responsible for myself, I probably would be homeless now. But theoretically, if I was taking care of myself and didn't have anybody else to worry, I would say thing. I would be like, yep, I want to go see it, and then maybe I would eat all my popcorn half in the car. But I love that idea. And I wonder if we're going to hear about people traveling so that they can see movies. So it would be sort of like, and look, of course they're open in Florida because Disney World and Universal Studios are open in Florida. And I know those are, right, you might as well open movie theaters. And unfortunately, the reopening is such a big political issue. And you get a lot of people who, it seems like they're hoping bad things happen to people who go to Disney World. They're hoping bad things happen to people who do these things. And I always hope the opposite. I'm like, I hope that they're right. And look, Disney World's been open for a couple months now. Disney Universal's been open like a month longer. I think they've been open for 3 months now. Maybe it's only 2. But anyway, so it's like, sure, let's take a chance on this. Let's see what's going on. And I think this was the only scenario where New Mutants was going to be able to come out, was where they were like, we're going to put a movie out, but nothing that we're really invested in. You can go ahead and get Mulan. Yeah, you can get Mulan for $30 via like an add-on on Disney Plus. Mulan, we're worried, but New Mutants sucks movie, so let's just go ahead with that. So my question then goes beyond that. Would you, out in the audience, and would you, Flobo, I'll ask you first, is there that, like, you know what, I would go to the movie theaters today if that movie was out right now, something that's an upcoming release?
Whew, it would be a lot. It would be a lot. I'm not necessarily a drive-in person, though I've never tried it before. You know, I mean, I grew up in a very condensed city where drive-ins weren't practical. But yeah, it would have to be totally the venue assuring me that there are protocols in place, or there's a cap, or that. But as what I've heard right now that's coming out in 2020, I can't think of one particular property where I'm like, okay, clear the schedule. We're going to Vegas. You know, we're going to see Mulan or whatever have you. But it's
right.
It's all right. Yeah, I'm all about it though. For other people, sure.
Well, sure. Well, fans of this show, let us know if Black Widow is that movie that would make you do that, and okay to say a film from another universe. If Wonder Woman is I know a lot of people who are like, hell no, I'm not going to the movies except for Wonder Woman. I know at least 3 people who have told me that no, if Wonder Woman comes out when it's supposed to in October, they will go see it in a movie theater, regardless of, you know, what the state of the world is at that point. And I mean, Rachel, you're already ready to go. I mean, you're already ready to go and see, you know, the original Dark Crystal. That would be fun, you know.
That would be really fun. Yeah, no, I would go. And that idea to drive to Las Vegas to see a movie is very interesting.
Very apocalyptic.
Throwing it out there, Hubby Joe, who's watching.
Yeah, because I would stay for the weekend and like do Vegas stuff. You know, there's, you know, I know that it's gambling. By the way, Hubby Joe is standing in line now for tickets.
Wait, he's actually referred to as Hubby Joe? That's crazy.
Yeah. I literally call him Hubby Joe.
Hey.
This is
Yeah.
And he
apparently didn't like Curb Your Enthusiasm, the show that the 3 of us did together, because Flobo didn't realize that.
I did not realize he was actually referring to himself as Hubby Joe.
Kame Egan is I would go to the movies to see Wonder Woman 84 or Eternals. Look, Eternals I'm very excited for because I just don't know what it is. You know, I mean, it's a Marvel property that there's so many questions about. And let's see, Michael B. just released the damn movie and be done with it. I'm sorry, Michael, that will not happen. That will definitely not happen, that Black Widow will release video on demand, especially now that movie theaters are opening.
And now, you know, that whole thing, and I know this is the things we were going to talk about, but with everything going on with Black Widow and the speculation of now seeing it on movies anywhere, I agree with you, Christian. I don't think that Black Widow is going to release video on demand first. I think that they are going to wait until they can release that in theaters. I don't think they care how long it takes, even if they have to postpone eventually.
Yeah. There's certain franchises.
Yeah, I mean, if all these movies, go ahead, Flobo.
No, there's certain franchises
that
you can tell that there's pushback. I remember when things start to shut down, Universal. Things started to shut down in March. Universal just said, all right, Fast and Furious, our most profitable franchise, this is next year. We're not even going to flirt with video on demand. We're not going to flirt with that property because it's that important. I mean, you got a transition period with the Marvel movie universe. Black Widow is one of the OGs. I don't see why you would cheapen that, quote unquote, by going video on demand.
Yeah, and when they did that with Fast and Furious, I remember thinking at the time, that's so crazy. But waiting a year now seems like the smartest because you've had your movie moved a couple of times already. And in theory, you're going to actually release what's on the books now, you know, specifically talking about Tenet, which is just in a couple of weeks, but Wonder Woman in early October and Black Widow in early November. It seems like these movies will come out, and obviously, like I said, we always hope all these reopenings and things go well, and there's more movie theaters, and that maybe we are able to go to our local AMC and see any of these, or or Regal or Cinemark. I know we keep using the same chain, but they're all out there. We did a poll about this very question, and we got 116 votes. So I will tell you what options were, and then I will tell you what the percentages are. So we asked on @MarvelNewsPTN, and the poll is actually not closed. If you still want to vote, we can revisit it next week. Would you go to the movies? Yes, but in bubble wrap. 2, you'll know, which is kind of like a hell no. 3, only to watch New Mutants. And then 4, wait till Black Widow. So now I will give you the percentages for all of this. Would you go to the movie? Yes, but in bubble wrap. 20% of you said that. Only to watch New Mutants. Only 10% of you said that, including me. I did vote in that. I said New Mutants. Wait till Black Widow, 24%. That's considerably more. But 46%, which is considered good approval ratings in presidential politics these days, 46% said still no. So 46% of you do not want to. But on Twitter,
I have a
Jack
46% approval rating. That's great.
Like under half is good now. And if you're another elected official, and this is a nonpartisan comment, if you're an elected official in the House or Senate, if you're like above 25%, you're doing really well. Jack Kidd sent me a screen that he already has tickets. He responded to the poll with his screen grab. And I love that he put an X through his QR so that we don't try and steal his movie ticket. What were you going to say, Rachel?
Oh, no, just adding on to that comment. I feel like it's been like that with the approval rating for like 15 years, though. But as long as it's like 41 or 42%, they're golden.
That is horrifying.
And if you're enjoying the conversation about polls and approval rating, make sure that tomorrow around noon, give or take, around noon, you tune in to the Trump Report on this same network, the Blackcast Network, where we will be recapping the scintillating first week of presidential convention. It started with a CEO.
That episode tomorrow is going to be 45% good. I can guarantee it. Yes.
And that's
a guarantee you're right. Yeah, and we'll be excited if it's 45%. Anyway, I think that this is definitely an evolving conversation. We are definitely happy to continue this conversation with people either watching live now, or if you want to comment to the archive version, or tweet at us. You can write to us online anywhere like that. Let us know, obviously, at Marvel News PTN, or you see somebody is very popular with their phone, and it's got to be Flobo because he's blowing up.
No one likes me. No one loves me at all.
You know what? That is a really good point. That's true. It's somebody that wants to know where your new content is for today, and you're like, "This is it."
This is it. Right here.
Let's talk about some non-movie theater related news, some actual news. Olivia Wilde, the actress / director, has confirmed that she has a secret Marvel movie in the works. This was in Vanity Fair. It is, by all indications, it's a Sony movie, and that means it's a female movie in the Spider-Man universe, which a lot of people are taking to mean Spider-Woman, the Jessica Drew iteration. But, I mean, it could be a Spider-Gwen movie. It could be a Black Cat movie. It could be a lot of different things.
Silk.
But we could get Silk. It's Silver Sable. There's no shortage of possibilities for it. She did direct the movie Booksmart. I think that was last year.
It was.
And very different kind of movie. She did direct something. I think she did a nice job. I enjoyed that movie. Rachel, what do you think about this idea of Olivia Wilde doing a secret Marvel movie?
Well, here's the thing is that she has been, Olivia Wilde has been a very sought after director ever since Booksmart and just the work that she did with that, the movie was very, very good. Very different from what I'm sure she's planning next with, this Marvel property. But I know, like, from reading the Deadline article, it's obviously very vague right now what she might be working on. But yeah, like, I don't know. I know that it's a completely different genre, but based on everything with Booksmart, I'm very excited to see this. It almost kind of reminds me of, I don't know, everything with Harley Quinn that we just got with her movie. What I'm hoping is that it will kind of be along, like, kind of within that vein, where there's, it's very action driven, but also has a lot of emotional moments with the characters, but really just shows a group of females bonding and, kind of overcoming some of the very, just overcoming some of these, like, societal adverse effects that they are, like, that women sometimes deal with when they are trying to, save the world. So
what about the thoughts of it in theory? If it is Spider-Woman, a character that we have, the only time we've ever seen Spider-Woman on screen is like a late '70s animated series, which you can find on Disney Plus.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not sure who. Like, I almost want them to go in a completely different direction that we wouldn't be expecting. But that being said, I don't know. Like, I'm not sure who I would even want to see as Spider-Woman at this point. Gwen Stacy is the first person that comes to mind. I'd love for them to pull her back because when we got her in The Amazing Spider-Man, I loved seeing Emma Stone in that role. Like, obviously we wouldn't necessarily be getting her as Gwen Stacy again, but I would love to see someone like that who we've already seen, in the comics and in cinema. I'd love to see them bring back a character like that and actually use her as Spider-Woman.
True.
Yeah, I mean, I think that they have sort of the Spider-Gwen built in, and obviously we can't see the Emma Stone Gwen Stacy because, spoiler alert, she's dead. So we would have to get a different iteration. Flobo, you hear about this idea. You hear about this idea of a female-led Spider-Man universe movie, and what are your thoughts? Obviously, you already jumped in with Silk, but what do you think about Olivia Wilde potentially doing Spider-Woman or a different property?
So I would take a step back here. I'm going to choose my words very carefully, but I did not like how it was announced. I felt like saying that put a bit of a qualifier on things. Like, if it was a guy, it would be, hey, this guy is doing a movie in the Spider-Man universe. What could it be? But the fact that in a weird way to empower this, now we are basically putting all these characters aside. So I would love to see a bigger universe here. Yes, Silk is my first choice for that. Olivia Wilde will be amazing as far as getting that character on screen. I think it deserves a little bit. Gwen Stacy is one of the most hottest properties as far as new comic book characters in the last 15 and 20 years. We want more Gwen Stacy. We want more hooded Spider-Woman or Spider-Gwen, whatever, it's okay. But I'm on board for a lot of things because that universe has such a good rogues gallery, such a good supporting cast, and we only get to see the surface level stuff. I mean, we'll get to a little bit later, but we're now tapping into Kraven. We're now tapping into the Sinister Six, so I'm open for it for sure.
Yeah, no. I think that you're right. There is so much that they can do, and I mean, we saw Spider-Gwen in Into the Spider-Verse, and obviously, it's not just cosplay. It is a very popular character that they should do a lot with. Kame Egan has a thought. What about Madam Web to continue the Spider-Verse? We've heard that rumor before about Madam Web. And that is allegedly in development. Daniel Drew points out that the rights for the Spider-Woman character would still be with Marvel Studios. Yeah. So she didn't really specify this. But as Charles Lee points out, if they use the Julia Carpenter version, Sony can do it because Jessica Drew was an agent of S.H.I.E.L.D. And also you have to deal with Hydra. And I agree with Michael. I think they would do Spider-Woman before Spider-Gwen. Personally, I would like to see Jessica Drew. The Jessica Jones character was supposed to be Jessica Drew sort of just very down on her luck, and then they adapted it to, you know, just be a different character because they didn't want to do that. So I would kind of love to see a Jessica Drew who was in the comics at one point. She just didn't have her powers anymore. She wasn't a superhero anymore. She had lost them, and that's how she began, you know, working with S.H.I.E.L.D., and then she got them back. What were you going to say, Rachel?
Oh, I mean, I feel like if we're working with Jessica Drew, then obviously Nick Fury would potentially be a little more involved. I do like her backstory. It's more like, I almost feel like with Jessica Drew, we almost get like this anti-hero personality that's very dark, and I think that would be very interesting. My only point to the, you know, bringing Gwen back is, you know, like you said, Christian, the fact that they killed her off in Amazing Spider-Man, I feel like did not do service to Gwen as a character, and that's why I would love to see her back. And actually, you know, in today's world, which, you know, that Amazing Spider-Man is not even that old, but I feel like even in the last 5 to 7 years, things have changed dramatically, especially with how they view women in the main, like, especially with how they write women into superhero movies. And so I'd love to see what they would do with Gwen now in 2020 compared with what they did with her when Amazing Spider-Man came out.
Yeah. I mean, it's very easy to reboot the character. I mean, since Amazing Spider-Man 2, we also have a new Spider-Man, you know? The only thing we don't have new of is J. Jonah Jameson. Everything else is the same. You know? And a very important question in the chat from Jason Blair wants to know, are comments live on here, or do I need to go to YouTube? No, they're pre-recorded. You need to go to YouTube. No, yes, you can just leave them on Facebook. I see them all. So thank you for jumping in, Jason. What about a few other things? These aren't so much specific. It's more general conversation. It sort of stems back to what we were saying before in terms of things starting to reopen. And for what we're hearing is that crews from Marvel Studios have started reassembling in Atlanta to finish work on Falcon and Winter Soldier, the Loki series, and they're supposed to start Spider-Man 3. Now, this is not a shot-for-shot remake of the Spider-Man 3 with Topher Grace as Eddie Brock with Venom in it and Thomas Hayden Church as Sandman. It's a new Spider-Man 3. So think of it as Spider-Man 3 Part 2. That's what they're working on. No, it's the third in the home trilogy, if you will call it that. And they were supposed to start that in July, so we're only a couple of months behind that. So I think I don't know, Rachel, if you were part of a film crew getting back to work, would you be nervous about being on set, or do you feel like there's just so much invested in it that they have to do it right and do it in a healthy fashion?
Here's the thing. I'm not worried about the actors in the, you know, in the main scenes getting together. Like, there are, even the soaps in LA, like I watched the Young and the Restless, and they just started back up, and sets have been very, like, I just know from friends and from hearing news about the sets that have kind of resumed, that people, like actors and production, are being very careful and following social distancing as well as they can. Obviously, certain scenes will kind of have to break that a little bit, but I feel like they are very, in LA anyway, they're taking things very seriously. So I'm not worried about that. My first thought, though, goes to the background work. And that is because I spent many years doing background. And I know that sometimes when you have 100 or 200 people in a background, in a scene that are serving as background, there's no way to really control those, like that level, like that, you know, that amount of people that are in that crowd. So I'm almost wondering if what it means is that they are going to go back to filming and they will just focus on the scenes that are between, you know, 2 or 3 people, maybe, you know, the principal characters, and not actually extend it to any of those scenes, like, you know, with Spider-Man in New York, where there's like, you know, hundreds of people that are standing by watching whatever is happening. Or, you know, obviously Far From Home, we had a lot of scenes in Venice that had a ton of background work there. So I'm almost wondering if in Spider-Man 3 Homesick, we are not going to get as many city shots or as many like outdoor shots, and it's going to be more focused on, I don't know, like when they do go outdoors, it might be more of like a dark alleyway where you won't be able to tell if there's people out there or not. That's what I'm wondering, if where they're just going to head to kind of work around this a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, it's really whatever the title is, it'll be, Spider-Man Far Apart is going to be how they film it. And, you wonder, like, for those crowd scenes, it's almost like, you have eight extras spread out, and then you just kind of fill it in with images of, just repeating themselves or something. And I would wonder, it's, because I've heard also what you're talking about, what soaps are doing, but you'd also wonder, like, would a production not even film with actors in the same scene? It's like, all right, we're going to film your stuff, and then sitting at the other side of the table. So they're going to just do split screens with the actors and then cut it all together. I think that we're not at that level.
No.
But if the general term Hollywood needed to do that, they would do whatever it takes to generate something that is near and dear to Flobo's heart, new content. What do you think, Flobo, about just getting production started again and the concerns that there might be?
Well, the original thing that you were saying, the original question, if I was on the set, I would be completely nervous, because you're with, a lot of times you do these setups, these rigs, you're in tight spaces for an extended period of time. But I think Hollywood has two things working for it. One, since this pandemic has affected the entire globe, you might get more scenes with extras wearing masks just because. I remember like post 9/11 when you watch movies, everyone just walked around like the Twin Towers never existed. Like no one ever, what I'm saying? Like I feel like they can always tailor that to it. But and also like sport, like in the Premier League or Major League Baseball, they probably will take like 30 people at a time and check temperatures. That way they can do smaller groups. I don't think it will be as niche as trying to cut a scene together, because the labor in the back end doesn't make it cost effective. And studios will do anything they can as cheap as possible. So they'll rather test 20 extras than to have that, crafted and CGI'd one by one.
Yeah, I mean, I remember a few weeks ago, maybe it was within the last month, seeing like a post for some kind of competition show that they clearly needed a studio audience. So they were willing to test people, acquiring them overnight just to be an audience member. And also, so you get a hotel room and they would pay you. So it was like, there's that level of like, look, we need people. We need to get this stuff, because there's a lot of things that have been, I've known several series that have had entire writers' rooms during these last 5 months, and they still have no idea when they're going to shoot. You think that maybe early next year they're going to be able to do it. But in terms of specifically what we're talking about, Jason says, I'd love to see fight scenes that are all special effects, where the actors really are fighting 6 feet away and CGI removes the 6 feet. Which wouldn't be that hard to do, and they could just use the Batman TV series "Pow" on the screen when the fighters are supposed to connect.
I'm sure
I think you can get very creative.
I'm sure they could. I'm sure they wouldn't even have to put people, like Jason said, they could probably work it in where people look closer than they really are. The other thing with Spider-Man: Far From Home, I know, just to kind of remind everyone watching at home, we ended that movie with Peter Parker's identity basically being like he was right in the middle of the city with a ton of people being very aware of who he was, and now being on like this, shit list of sorts. And so to me, it would be very hard, because of how they set up the third movie and where it seemed to be heading. It would be very hard not to include a group of people the way that they seem to be. Like, this really seemed to be turning in a direction where he was going to be shunned. So I don't know how they're going to do it, if they're going to still bring in the extras the way they would have, or if they'll just, maybe use CGI, or have just a lot of random scenes with different people separated.
Michael B has the thought that him being on the run, you can introduce the Spider Hunters robots to hunt him down without any extras. So he's already written the story for how they can do it. But I do agree with what you're saying, Rachel. I think that interaction with large numbers of people, kind of how it works. I don't know what you do. Like, do you have members of the crew act as extras in crowd shots because they're already even tested? I think seeing how that unfolds in the weeks or months ahead will be interesting. We're talking about Spider-Man 3. So I guess let's talk about the fact that this is where we get back into rumor territory. But this idea we've heard for a while that Kraven the Hunter will be in there. And there is some thinking that Joel Kinnaman would be the person for the role. Now, he was, of course, in Suicide Squad as Rick Flag. I don't even think the Suicide Squad sequel is going to consider the first Suicide Squad movie particularly canon, so he can jump universes. What do you think, Flobo? Are you familiar with the character of Kraven, and do you think that Joel would be able to pull off the role of the Hunter?
It's interesting because when you sent me the link, or when the rumors came up just on text, I was like, no, I can't see this at all. Like the Rick Flag guy, like I can't. But then of course the link has like the artist mock-ups and the design, what it would look like, not really, what it could be. And I go, you know what? Okay, because I think the whole world didn't believe Gal Gadot could have been Wonder Woman, but after the first one, we were like, we want more Gal. So I'm open to it. I think Kinnaman has good, as they say in the film school business, pathos to get the idea of not just being a mad, crazed, one-dimensional hunter, like less Paul Giamatti. You know what I'm saying? So I'm on board. I want to see what that would look like if he is the one to actually sign on to be Kraven.
What do you think, Rachel, about Kraven and Joel Kinnaman as the rumored actor to possibly portray him?
See, I actually thought it was a really good choice, especially because of Kraven's backstory and the fact that this is a character who didn't start off having these, with most villains in the MCU. He started off like very normal, actually. And it wasn't until the voodoo witch doctor kind of enabled him and gave him this super strength that he turned into something else. So to me, I think he's perfect for it. And I know it's one of those things where maybe it's some of the concept art that's kind of allowing me to see it. But I really do think that he could bring so much to that role, and it would be a little bit different from our typical villain.
And of course, anytime Kraven the Hunter comes up, I'll always give out my recommended reading of the 6-part. It's collected in a volume now. It has many years. Kraven's Last Hunt, which is a fantastic story. J.M. DeMatteis and Mike Zeck with the artwork, all 6 parts. You can buy a trade paperback. You can get it digitally. It's all out there. It is one of the best Spider-Man stories ever that I've read. So I would like to see this character on screen. And yeah, I just hope they get it right. And I feel like if they cast Joel Kinnaman, it'll be because they're convinced that he can do a good job. What you think? If you're watching live, if you're watching the archive version, Michael B points out that he's a bit leaner than I like, but he could pull it off. Look, you never could have convinced me that either Chris Pratt or Paul Rudd could be superheroes. Well, not 5 years ago, but 8 years ago, I would never have believed you. And come on, and we've all seen those pictures. Yeah, we've all seen those pictures of Kumail Nanjiani from Eternals. So you can just put on a little bit of mass and rip off your superhero costume and just But it's a great point though, Michael. I think it'll be interesting to see how that goes. The last thing we'll talk about is the fact that we're getting sort of a general, and then this is again, it's rumored, but we're getting the order that Marvel Studios is planning to do their remaining Disney Plus shows, the ones that haven't started production yet. So they would do Hawkeye, Ms. Marvel, Moon Knight, and She-Hulk. Interesting with She-Hulk being last, but I feel like there would also be some overlap. Some of these would be shooting at the same time. Of these properties, and we've talked about this before, but it's always fun because when we have new people, Flobo,
Yeah.
If you had to pick one of these shows to watch, would it be Hawkeye, Ms. Marvel, Moon Knight, or She-Hulk?
So when it was announced, I was like, "Oh man, I'll be down to see some Moon Knight." I mean, hands down, some Moon Knight. You know, like why the heck not? But I do think Ms. Marvel may end up being their second anchor. You know, I think She-Hulk was put last for a reason. For example, because it's easy to make that happen to casual fans. Oh, Hulk, She-Hulk, I get it. But I really think that Ms. Marvel maybe open up a whole new fan base. But yeah, Moon Knight for sure.
Yeah, I think that that's a character that could be done so well because, he's sort of got the, the bored millionaire trait of like your Green Lantern or Batman or yes, Tony Stark. But I'm just saying, but also just the fact that he's got like multiple personalities. And I mean, the Moon Knight character, if you read current issues of Avengers, he's like taken Thor's hammer. He's actually stolen the power of the Iron Fist from Danny Rand. He is on a tear he says, to try and protect us from Mephisto. But looks like maybe the Moon Knight is being a bit of a puppet. But yeah, I'm excited for that. Which of those, Rachel? Hawkeye, Ms. Marvel, Moon Knight, or She-Hulk?
Moon Knight was the first one I was going to say, but I would say Ms. Marvel's a close second because I really like.
It's a close second, yeah.
Yeah, but Moon Knight, to kind of, kind of add on to what you said, Christian. Moon Knight, I love any character who has multiple personalities. I think you can do so much with that. And there's just, I love when you kind of get that mix of dark, but also characters who, just emotionally have their own issues going on that they have to contend with while they're fighting crime. But yeah, no, Ms. Marvel, close second.
And Michael B chimes in with Hawkeye. Look, we know we would see at least some of Jeremy Renner in there, and in theory, it's Haley Steinfeld. So yeah, we'll see about all of that. But yeah, I mean, I'm going to watch all of these shows, and then we'll go back to this comment from Jason Blair, who he was talking about. His movie theater is going to open tomorrow, and he lives in Texas. They're going to have The Goonies, Jurassic Park, Empire Strikes Back, Raiders of the Lost Ark, and the 10th anniversary cut of Inception. Yes. So, I mean, that's a whole day of the movies right there. I take the kids to see Goonies because he saw the movie in theater 7 times when he was a kid. He wants to tie his record for the most times of seeing a movie in the theater. So, yeah, I mean, that's a fun weekend at the movies if I could go and see all of those movies. Yeah. I would definitely see Empire Strikes Back first,
yes,
then Raiders of the Lost Ark, and then the other ones are good movies, but I mean those are just all times for me. Anyway, thank you. Go ahead, Rachel.
Oh, no, I'm still looking to see when Empire Strikes Back is going to be available in a drive-in in LA. I just saw Force Awakens, and that was amazing to see in a drive-in. So I'm waiting for my Star Wars drive-in.
Oh, that's very cool.
Yeah.
Well, Rachel, this mug says how I feel. I adore you.
Oh.
And I knew you would appreciate that. That'll be that's a mug that should be available at the Flobito store. I hate puns.
Can't stand them.
And Flobo, if people do want to find out more, where do they find you, and where is the Flobito store?
Yeah, for sure. You can follow me at Flobo Boyce on Twitter, at Flobito on Instagram, twitch.tv/Flobo Boyce. The website is flobito.com and support the homie. While buy a t-shirt or a mug without a pun at flobito.threadless.com.
And Rachel, where are the many places they can find you?
You can find me on Twitter at Rach Goodman, which is where I post more of my acting and podcast stuff, or you can find me pretty much anywhere at Rachel Radner author on Instagram, where I post about my contemporary romance novels. If you're into that, probably not if you're watching this show, but hey, I'm throwing it out there. But yeah, and you can find my self-published books on Amazon.
Hey, we love here in the show. We have our favorite couples, you know. We have our Steve and Peggy. We have our Peter and Mary, who you're into. We have our Fitz and Simmons. So we love here. You know, it's and just a really funny other comment because Jason is watching this on Facebook subtitles. So the captioning that they do when you say She-Hulk, it says Seahawk. So he wants a TV show about Pete Carroll's superhero gum chewing ability, and I think we could probably watch that. I just want to include everybody. Corby says that movie theaters where he lives in Manson, they've been open with some old classics. He hasn't been yet, and he should. And let's see, Rock 620 says great show. So I'll miss out on that comment because I want to make sure. And you'll appreciate, Rachel, that Corby, he's only here for the contemporary romance. So anyway, thank you all. Thank you, Flobo, for sitting in this week. We'll be back next week. And, you know, next week is release week. Mutants. Will I, by the time we do this next show, will I have a ticket to it? But the drive-in doesn't really work that way. So I don't think I'll be 100% sure I'm seeing it until I'm sitting in my car and the movie actually starts. But we'll talk all about that next week. Please stay in touch with me at Christian DMZ at Marvel News TN. You can who manages that. And that is where you can vote on the poll. We'll give you the final results next week about whether or not you would go in Bubble Wrap or see New Mutants or Black Widow at Marvel News PTN. That is all the time we have for this week. But until next time, as the great Stan Lee would say, Excelsior!
Excelsior.